My name is Patricia Thorpe. I'm retired. My background is in data processing. When I graduated from high school, it was in an era that women did not go to college. So I got a job at A.C. Nielsen in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, where we lived, who started me in data processing and got me into that element, which helped me all of my life. Every job I have, when data processing kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, I worked for Ross Perot in data processing for 10 years. It was a very exciting experience. He demanded excellence, and he wanted everything to be perfect. So it was very challenging, but I knew that it would really help me in the future. I am 85 years old, and I will be 86 in November. But I am really trying very hard to keep myself fit, and I eat good food. I walk every day, and so hopefully I continue living the kind of life that I'm living now. Well, when I'm at my summer home, I don't have as much responsibility as I do have in Mesa, Arizona, where we live permanently. I am the president of a nonprofit organization, and that keeps me extremely busy. And the nonprofit organization is responsible for 2 communities, Dreamland Villa, of which I live, my husband and I live in, and Val de Rose is another community. And we donate, we allow people to come in and get medical equipment for a donation only. We have walkers, canes, wheelchairs, any kind of medical equipment that they may need, and they can come in and get it for a donation. And it's a lot of responsibility, but it makes you feel really good in your heart. I never even thought of being an author, never. But when we lived in northern Wisconsin, and this is where I could probably show the pictures, our home was plopped right in the middle of 3 acres of land, most of it woods. And many, many animals were around the property all the time. And we had a big picture window right here where you could look out and see the whole front yard. Here's a picture of the lake. We would have all different kinds of animals. Here's a couple of sandhill cranes that came into our yard, and they stayed there for like 3 days. And I walked out with my camera, and you can see that I got very close to them, and they were very comfortable with me coming there. And they were there eating around the front yard, not doing any giving us any problems. And the next morning I woke up and they were gone. But we had so many different animals come in our yard. A hummingbird and I named all the animals. I named him Harry. And Harry would stay up, go and fly on a tree, way at the top of the tree. I think it's up here, way in the top of the tree. And he would not allow any other bird to drink the sweet nectar that we had hanging up in the front yard, was hanging about in here, around here. You can see our Wisconsin sign and our Green Bay Packer sign was out in the front. So you could definitely see we're from Wisconsin. So I looked at Harry, had to learn to share. And I kept bringing up, Harry, you're not sharing. Shame on you, you're not sharing, because he would fly up to the tree and bombard any other bird that wanted to drink from the nectar. So that was Harry. Then one day I saw a beautiful black squirrel come into the yard. Had never seen a black squirrel before. And he was eating all of the food that was on the ground. And all of a sudden, 4 gray squirrels came out of the yard and began to chase him. They chased him under the front porch. Here's the front porch. He went under the front porch and all over the yard. Then I named him Chucky. So Chucky the black squirrel ran up a tree thinking that he could get away from the gray squirrels. But the gray squirrels ran after him. Now this is what I actually saw happen. And he tried to jump from one tree to the next, thinking that he could escape from the gray squirrels. Well, he missed the other tree and fell, and it was about 25 feet. And he laid there, and the gray squirrels kind of looked at him, but ran off. I wanted to go out and help Harry, but my husband didn't think that was a good idea. So about after 20 minutes, it seemed like that anyway, he woke up, shook his head, and ran off. Well, that was Chucky. Then all of the geese came, and all summer long they would be around the house and the yard and the lake. And we would walk around the lake every day to get out and move. And I would see them learning how to fly, and I'd call it the training session. So that happened and happened and happened over and over until finally in the cold, when the weather was starting to get cold, then all the geese flew off. They would fly off to eat in other areas other than to stay on our lake and eat, but then they'd come back. But finally in the fall, they just all flew away. So I kept talking about Chucky, Harry, Lily, and Scooter, and my husband said to me, why don't you just write a book about those? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, you could write a story about Harry, you know, because I would say, Harry has to learn to share. All kids have to learn to share. I read my children's books all the time. We read Aesop's Fables. I had flashcards that they learned their ABCs, their 1 and 1 makes 2, and we just read books and books and books. And when my oldest son was going to start school, he was very apprehensive about it. So I got a book for him. It was called Peter Goes to School, and it kind of explained what he would go through or feel while he was going to school for the first time. So we read that every night before he went to bed. Every time he wanted to read a book, I'd always say to the boys, okay, get your favorite book and we'll read that. And he would go get that book. And so I thought it helped him know what he would feel like when he had to start school for the first time. So I thought children have to learn to share. This would be a good lesson for them to know that Harry had to learn to share too. And Chucky made friends with the gray squirrels, and they decided to get to know one another, even though they looked different. They were squirrels, but they looked different from one another. They could still be friends. So they became friends, and they chased each other around the yard, but this time they were playing hide and seek. And the Canadian goslings, Lily and Scooter was just fooling around. He was not learning how to fly. And his parents, Maud and Arnold, were very kind of worried about him because they wanted to fly to other areas to find food, but they couldn't go and leave Scooter behind. So Lily took it upon herself to help him. Said, you can't keep fooling around here. You gotta learn how to fly. Well, he said he was afraid that he'd never learn to fly. And Lily told him, you're a goose. All geese know how to fly. He said, okay, I'll try. So Lily said, I'll show you what I do. So she went out, she got up. You have to leave the water to get up in the sky. And then when you get up in the sky, you have to come down and land on the water. So she showed him a couple of times how to do that. She said, now, I know you can do it, Scooter. Just be serious. Okay, he said. So he went in the water. She said, okay, now flap your wings, get up there. And Scooter finally got off the water into midair. And while he was flying around, he said to himself, oh, I've got to come down on the water now. How do I do that? Can't stay up here forever, so I've got to come down. So Scooter came down and landed bloop, on the water. You okay? Lily asked him. Yeah, I'm okay. She says, I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it. So Scooter finally learned how to fly. I never had a pet as a child. We could never have animals. When I lived with my aunt, I wanted a dog, a cat, and she was an owner of 5 farms that she rented out. And I was the youngest of my brother and my sister and myself that lived with her. I came to live with her when I was 3. My brother was 5 and my sister was 8. And they were in school. So she would go tour her farms every month. And she always had a lot of calves. And I would go play with the calves. So I was exposed to animals and I liked animals, but we could never have one because a farmer, the animals were outside. You didn't bring animals in the house like we do today and have them sleep on the bed and all this stuff. That wasn't happening with my aunt. And she said, well, we're going to sell them. And I said, what do you mean you're going to sell the calves? Why can't they grow up to be big like their moms? Because we're going to eat their meat. And I said, you kill them for meat? Yes, she said, it's called veal. I never ate veal in my life. I couldn't. I think the stories have a lesson that all children have to learn. And I read a lot of books to my children. And they were kind of fun things, you know, but Aesop's Fables was lessons that I felt they had to learn. Peter Goes to School was a lesson that helped my oldest son start school. But not all books do. And I thought that these were 3 lessons that were extremely important for children to learn. I'm hopeful that these books have a message that I totally believe in, that I think parents would believe in. And I hope that these messages can be given to children and read to, and they learn about these lessons. They're so important to children.